In this lesson, we're gonna go here in LiveHome 3D with some measurements and annotations, text, and anything that is 2D representation. So we're gonna work mostly with the 2D drawing instead of the 3D view. So we worked in the previous lessons creating various visualization here using assets in 2D and 3D. So we can visualize some of the objects in 3D. We can visualize them as images in the 2D. So we can change that. We can we can see other tools concerning the 2D part. So up here we find the tools for the annotations. I will keep the language in Italian in this video because we already know how to use LiveHome 3D right now, so you should be able to recognize the icons here. So these are the measurements or annotations. So you can just click and place simple annotation. You want to make sure you go straight. If you want to create a perfect horizontal line and vertical line, you need to snap, for example, to the walls. So you can create straight lines. And let me just, I think there is something to fix right here. But anyway, this is another example. So you can take the overall measurements. Now be careful not to go like this because it's going to create an oblique measure, and that's not going to be good. Okay, so I fixed the fence right there, and maybe I want to push this a little bit up so we can have a little bit more space here to visualize some other annotations. So up here in the tools, we have annotations and we have text and other stuff. If we have an oblique line like this, well, this is now fine because we have an oblique line for that. And so you can, well, the most important thing is that you make a snap to the vertex of that element. So you can then also reposition, you can move the snapping points, you can move the line of the annotation. And here in the properties in the right side, you can choose if you want to change the dimension, the length. You can lock one side or the other and expand on one side or the other, or you can expand on both sides. So it's usually working as the other elements when we need to modify the length. And you can also set to have an influence on the objects that where you snap that annotation. So if you check that checkbox, you should find here that now if you change the that annotation is going to also affect the elements that are linked to that. Also, you can change, you can put arrows instead of ticks, or you can change the offset, which is the distance between the annotation and the element you are measuring. And just to show you here, let me just push this like there. You can see the offset there, so it's not completely attached. You can also remove those extensions lines if you want, or you can again adjust the offset as you like. So you can see now this has no offset. Let's apply a little bit of offset. You can see the little space from the annotation and the element you are measuring. Now you can also change the content of the text inside the annotation. Could be just the dimensioning, or it could be a note that you can write. So I can write here anything I want. So you can see everything I write is going to appear there instead of the actual dimension, or you can put the actual dimension if you want, whatever you need. And then you can also have various options here, and you can change the text anytime. You can go back and forth anytime. You can also set none, and you can change also the dimensions, well, the size of the font of the text, the color of the font that you're using, and etc, etc. Now let me expand again the annotation. You can see that if I change the length of the annotation is affecting the element that is measuring. So this is why we can lock the two. So you can make the two dependent. So when you check that checkbox on, you can establish that connection. Now, then you have text. Text pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. So you can add any text. For example, if I want to indicate something into the drawing, I can type here like, okay, this is going to be the loft area, And then okay, I want to type here something else. I'm gonna click again on the text, annotation text, type like living room, or again you can indicate something else in the scene, for example that this is a plan view, so I can type here like plan view. And also if I want the scale, so like 1 to 100, and then I can format this. I can increase the size, I can change the the boldness, the alignment, the font, italic. I can change the color, so I can do all of this stuff right here if I want to customize it more. Now if you go in the third panel in here, this is the 2D representation options. So this is where you can define a different path and a different fill. So you can change the stroke, the fill inside the color of the filling inside the box, or you can change the outline. And I'm sorry, again, this is in Italian, but it's pretty simple to understand with also a little bit of explanation. And so there it is. Everything is right here. So when you want to modify something, you should go here and try to modify it from here. Then you have cameras and lighting, but this will be covered in the following lesson. So just want to stay in the 2D representation and 2D tools. So here nothing is showing because you need to select something. So if I select this chain of wall, I can change the way these are represented in 2D. So let me get closer. Now this has a outline or a stroke around, which is black, but I can make it red, and you can see it right here. So maybe it can represent a demolished wall or something like that. And then I can make a different fill, a different hatch in a solid fill in that wall. Or I can apply a pattern. I can apply a hatch. So this is the hatch right here. It's called like with this specific codes. So you can apply some specific hatch, or just simple solid fill depending on. This is used for walls, usually for brick walls, this representation like this. So you can customize essentially anything. You can select something, apply whatever pattern, whatever hatch you think is good, or you can fill it with a color, or you also have other options. Let me show you. So well, these were tiles, so maybe this is a more correct pattern right here. And then you have also other type of 2D representation, so not only technical but also like with images. So you can customize this. So if you go here, you can go to image, and it's going to show you the image that comes from the texture. If you remember, in the last lesson we created our own material with our own texture, so you can make it appear here. Now there are some objects that we imported that also are represented with an image rather than with a 2D CAD, a technical drawing representation. You can unlock that and you can customize this. So perhaps you can make it show as a, not as an image, but as a 2D contour, 2D like this, but doesn't look really good. So I can double click here. This is a group of plants. So if I double click, I can move the plants around. So you can see the difference between the contour or technical, and this one here is just the box. So you can decide whether you want to show that as a image or as a technical drawing. You can also import images from outside. So if you don't find what you need, if you don't like what you see, you can always import. So you go to the file here, left side, import, can select any image in your computer. Now, actually, I can also insert a reference image to draw on top of that. For example, here, let me look for a plan view if I find it in one of my courses. So maybe from a CAD course, I'm gonna look for, there you go. So I have some, this is a plan created with another software. I can import this as a 2D image to use it as a reference. So instead of like creating something from zero, from nothing, I can use this as a reference, and I can draw walls on top of that, following this as a base to model on top of. So Also, you can import the images in a 3D fashion. So let me again look for the same image. Let me go for another plan view here from another CAD, and you can see this. You can create like with colors. You can represent the materials with simple colors. You can make it black and white, whatever you want. Now let me import it as a 3D image. Now what's the difference? Well, I'm gonna show you in the 3D space. So there you go. That's the image right there. It looks more like a billboard or something like that. But let's get closer here. So right click and show in 3D. Okay, now if I move around with the camera, you can see it's like following the camera. So it's always showing at the front. And this is good because if you play some 3D, some 2D elements like people or plants or something that usually is heavy in 3D, they will always be parallel in a way to the camera. So I'm going to make an example here with a silhouette of a character that I can position in my representation in 2D and in 3D also. So let's get, for example, a PNG woman walking. I'm searching here with Creative Commons filter so I can get some public domain or like free stuff, but you can also search more in commercial, etc. So I want to get this one here. Let me open up, and there you go. So it's a black silhouette, and I can download this for free. It's a PNG, so hopefully will not have the background. So that's the author, and this is public domain. I can get it smaller image or high quality. Just gonna go for a smaller image. Gonna save it in a PNG CC0 public domain folder here. I'm just gonna call it PNG, and there it is. Now let's bring it in Live 3D. So again, the three lines: import from file, select the image, and that's it. And it doesn't look like a transparent background. I think that's gonna be a white background. Let's import that as a 3D image, and yeah, you can see it looks like more like a billboard than a silhouette of a character. And I cannot well, I can do some adjustments here, but I cannot remove the white background. So to do these graphic design things, you need a graphic design application. So I'm going to show you quickly Pixel Express, which is a really cool and easy to use and free to use, and also you can find it on the web, and it will help you to remove the background nice and quick. And if you want, you can find also other videos on all these tools in the channel if you look for Pixel Course. I'm gonna go in the cutout section here, select the magic wand, also, or magic cutout, but also you can do this in Photoshop, GIMP, Canva, and many others 2D graphic design application. And again, you find a bunch of videos and video courses in the channel about removing the background and online tools like this one here, etc., etc. So let me save this as a PNG. I just removed the background. So if you see the checkerboard, well, that's a good sign. It means shouldn't have the opaque background. And so let me just import it again. So click import from file, select the image, and now there you go. 3D image. You can choose also different size. Let's go like with the smaller size. And there it is. So pretty easy, pretty simple. That's our silhouette right there. And in the properties, you can also adjust the height or the dimension if it's too big like this. Of course, you don't want it like extremely big, so you can fix it in the properties as usual. And also here you see in the list we have images, 3D images, 2D images, annotation, and other stuff, so you can access directly the properties from there. And so as well as you can insert 2D and 3D elements, you can insert blocks. Blocks, what are blocks? Now, if you ever use AutoCAD or any other CAD application, for example, in the channel, you will find also LibreCAD and FreeCAD, which are open source software for creating CAD drawings. Well, in that case, you probably know blocks. Now, blocks are DWG files or DXF files or SVG files that were created with a vector graphics application. Well, you can import them in here. As long as they're images, you can import them and use them in here to, enrich the representation. Cameras and movies, we're going to talk about that later on. And then you have automatic insertion and removal of all the annotations you need. So that's pretty handy. And then you can also add guides. So you have guides, so you can add kind of rulers to help you position things nice and aligned. You can also click and drag from the ruler to take out some of the guides. And of course, as any other elements, they have their own properties on the right side, which can adjust and position correctly. And that's another, we can call it like a type of annotation in a way. Okay, we're almost there. Just want to finish here with align and distribute. So we already talked about that, but anyway, again, you can change, you can see the color and the hatch and the 2D representation about anything. So if you want a more realistic look for these chairs, also you can see the opacity here or transparency, so you can turn it up and down. And again, we have alignment to make sure they are aligned vertically, horizontally, and also distribution. So let's add another chair here just to show you quickly. So if you select all of them, then you have also the possibility to distribute them evenly spaced, and that's it. So that's another tool we already talked about, but we saw it again. Now again, three dots. So we can import and then we can export. We have the entire export section. You can share using email, using WhatsApp, using other software that you have installed. It's going to export a PNG image that you want to show perhaps to your client or to your colleague or to your professor or whatever. So you can send it with the mail. You can also open the capture screen application here in Windows and any other application that you can use to work with graphic, to add more graphic design. So if you cannot do something here, you have other options. Then you can save as a model. You can, well, we're going to talk about rendering later. So other options are in the store. So let's go to print. So you can also print in the PDF and set up the printing here. So you can see it's going to print this in many different pages that then I can like assemble it together. And then you can choose a different printer if you have a printer available. You can pick another one, and depending on which printer you're gonna select, you're gonna have different options. Like if you want to fit to the paper size, if you can create more copies, you can change the format, A4 letter, and specify something else if it's available here in terms of the size of the paper. And that's it. So anything you can see it here, just play around with the various options. Once you're ready, just click on print, and that's it. That's how you export 2D images, printed images, and that's all. So this will be all for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated. If you want to thank us, support us, please join the channel as a supporter. Check our other video courses and video guides in graphic design, 3D modeling, 3D rendering, much more. So thanks again, and see you in the next lesson.